Hey art nerds! Today we are going to do the field test for Neopiko Color. These are Deleter's newer alcohol markers. I won't say new, they've been out for a while and I've just kind of sat on them. There are 72 colors in the range. I have the gray 12 color set as well as several open stock colors, and you can purchase these from the Deleter shop. You guys will find a link in the description below. I have reviewed other Deleter products in the past. You guys can check out this video, the cards and the links in this video as well as in the description to find those other reviews if you guys are curious. And I'm going to give a big shout out to my buddy Kabocha, who recommended that I review these markers and sent me a link when these markers went on sale on the Deleter shop. So thank you so much, Kabocha. So this is going to be a combination of our field test and a little bit of an unbox and swatch, just because I don't believe I've done an unbox and swatch for these markers, and there's some things I'd like to cover with them. So I already went ahead and swatched out my open stock markers, which are up here, and my 12, I will say 11 gray tones, because they include a solvent marker. So there's a few things I want to point out before we start swatching. The color name is written in English on a barcode sticker. I don't know if this is true if you buy them in Japan, but it is true if you buy them from the English Deleter shop. There's a color name and a color number. The color number is also at the top of the cap. I believe the C in the color number refers to color, like Neopiko Color. This is the brush and fine marker. So one tip has a small brush. The other tip has your sort of fine liner. It's like a fine bullet nib. It could be great for small details. So if you're interested in alcohol markers for color, like we're all interested in them for coloring, but if you're interested in them for scrapbooking or coloring for relaxation, things that might require smaller spaces, these could be a good marker for you. There are 72 total colors in the line. Let me flip this over because it shows it on the back. Decent range of skin tones, decent range of other colors. They're really kind of designed for, you know, manga art, but that doesn't mean they're not a good pick for illustration as well. They are the newer addition to the Neopiko line. They are alcohol based. And that's important because Neopiko makes alcohol-based markers. They also make water-based markers. They make a wide variety of markers. So knowing the solvent and knowing the name is going to be useful for when you're buying more of them. They are not refillable at this time. The nibs are not replaceable, and they are meant to be disposable. Doing these swatches, I feel like they handled a bit like the Kuretake Brush and Fine markers. Mine are hiding somewhere. I'm not going to dig them out right now. If you really want to see the comparison, you can request that during one of my Power Hour live streams. I'm happy to do it then. And I do have a review of the Kuretake Brush and Fine markers, so I will link that in the card right here. The brush nibs are foam rubber. They're very flexible. They're a bit gummy compared to Copic, and they are smaller in size. So I'm going to go ahead and set up for our marker comparison. Okay, so we have a lineup of various alcohol markers. It's not all inclusive, but it's a pretty good lineup. Up here we have two Neopiko colors. This one is from the all gray set. What's interesting about the all gray set, and I'll grab another example to show you guys, is that the brush caps are white, which makes it very easy to grab the brush cap, but it can make it confusing if you don't store your colors in a way that the caps are top indicative. The smaller cap does not include the family name, and on these actually, they don't include the color name or family on the cap either. That's interesting because with these, and I think these are newer than these, they do. I wonder why that is. I would be curious to know. Deleter, if you're watching, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear back and share that information. So we have here just one of their color markers. The larger cap is the brush end. On some of the markers you're gonna know because the color family is, or the color name, the color designation is at this larger cap. The smaller cap is the bullet point. The cap does post, but you do have to put it backwards. I like posting caps. Copics don't post. Posting caps means I'm less likely to lose my marker caps, which has never actually happened, but I'm very clumsy and it would not surprise me if it did. So I'm going to do that thing that makes everybody super uncomfortable. Remember guys, I am a review and tutorial channel. I do this out of love for you. And that thing, of course, is uncapping my alcohol markers so you guys can see what the lids look like, what the brushes look like, and what the bullet nibs or chisel nibs look like. It also involves a fair amount of fumbling with small items. I have included an Artist Loft marker because why not? It's nice to have cheap markers in the lineup on occasion. We also have a Blick Studio brush marker. This is included because it's one of my most recommended inexpensive markers. I like including those in Copics in the lineup. Copics because most people are familiar with Copic, and the Blick Studio brush markers because they are a good Copic alternative. Now up here at the top is an older Neopiko 2. This was sent to me by Kabocha. Thank you so much, Kabocha. I really do appreciate it. It's really nice to have a standard of comparison. So you guys can see that the Neopiko Color has a smaller body than the Neopiko 2. It has a smaller brush than the Neopiko 2. The Neopiko 2 has a chisel tip. The Neopiko Fine and Color does not. Again, these are made by the same company, so they're just different options. They're just different flavors. The Neopiko Color is the longest marker in this lineup. It is also the thinnest. So if you struggle ergonomically with some of these larger marker bodies, the Neopiko Color could be a good marker for you. Again, they are not refillable and they do not have replaceable nibs. As you guys can see, it has the shortest brush in this lineup, followed by the Artist Loft and the Neopiko 2. Everything but the Artist Loft in this lineup utilizes a foam rubber brush nib. Those are my favorite. They are less prone to fraying. They have good color saturation. They're very flexible and they last a really long time. Other than that, I think you guys are going to have to check out the description for comparative prices. Again, I got my Neopiko Color on sale, so I paid less than the average price. And unfortunately, I could not tell you the cost off the top of my head. But I will have that for you guys in a minute. So, got the caps confused there. That's not good. The caps are in specific for the Neopiko Color. And they seem to use different families than the original Neopikos, which have like Y and then a color designation. These have C and then a color designation. That kind of reminds me when Copic had the CM markers. I never had a chance to use them. They might have been Japan exclusive, but they were manga markers and they had their own color designations, and Copic even released like a 1-to-1 color chart. So that is the lineup. So Deleter Neopiko Color markers are $4.99 on the Deleter USA shop. That's $4.99 each. On the Deleter manga shop, they are $3.13. And off the top of my head, I am not sure if the manga shop will actually send these out to you. And the manga shop says we have 144 colors available now. Whereas the US shop is a little bit harder to navigate. So I will have to put that information in the description for you guys, which I am happy to do. Okay, so let's do a little bit of comparative scribbling, and then we're going to do a little bit of reactivity. So this is our Deleter Neopiko 2, and it has the same body as the Neopiko 3, which is their water-based marker. These are older. They've seen a lot of wear and tear. They are refillable. I do believe you can replace the brush nibs. They are still alcohol marker based, and they have smaller chisel nibs than some of the other alcohol markers we've tested in the past. Here is the Neopiko Color. These are much newer. I think I am the only user of them, and I have barely used them at all. This is the Copic, so you guys will notice I'm doing the brush tip first, and then whatever is on the other end, it's usually a chisel, but in the Neopiko Colors case, it is a fine bullet point. That was the Copic. Next is the Artist Loft. These have compressed felt fiber nibs, so they're a little bit more prone to fraying. They're also a little bit more expensive, which is weird. We'll talk about that in a second. And then this is the Blick Studio Brush Marker. It has a firmer nib, and it's good if you're heavy-handed. So, not discussing the Neopiko 2. The Neopiko 3, as we already said, is about $4.99 open stock on the US Deleter shop. Copic Sketch markers can really vary based on where you're buying them. I don't like to pay more than $6 per Copic Sketch. I've seen them go for as much as $8. The Artist Loft markers are $3.99 open stock, and they don't really do, I haven't seen too many deals on these. I would not say these are a good value for your money, but you guys can learn all about that in my upcoming Artist Loft field test. And then the Blick Studio markers are usually around $2.85. They are cheaper if you buy sets, and you can get them in bulk deals. Next, we're going to do a solvent compatibility test. I'm going to grab a darker marker. We're going to use the Gothic purple, and we're going to test 5 actually, because I want to use their solvent marker as well. We're going to use 5 different blenders, 5 different solvents. We are using their own. We are using the Blick Studio brush. We are using Copic. We are using a Shinhan Twin Touch, and yes, I did not actually put one out to compare. Mine are mostly packed away, I apologize. But I do have a full review of Shinhan Twin Touch on my blog, and I have a revised field test coming up. So I hope you guys will look forward to those. We are also using rubbing alcohol, which is kind of a universal solvent when it comes to these sort of products. So we're going to start with their own solvent. And we're just basically checking out reactivity, not really seeing if it blends much of the color, because the way alcohol markers work is they usually push color to the back of the page, but they seem very reactive to their own. Let's do the Blick next. Also very reactive to the Blick. And basically how reactive these markers are to other solvents kind of tells me how compatible they are. So you guys probably know, because I've talked about it a few times, I generally look for alcohol markers that will play well with my existing sets of markers. I have a fairly large marker collection that spans several different brands, so I want markers that are going to kind of play nice together and are going to perform consistently. They don't have to be identical. Clearly, the Blick Studio, the Copic, and the Touch are not identical, but they do need to play well together so I can actually use them. Markers that don't play well with other brands tend to get donated really quickly because I can't keep them around. I don't have much use for them. So the Neopiko seems to be extremely reactive to itself, which is fine, but it is also reactive to all of the markers that we've tested. Now, the most common solvent for alcohol markers is an ethanol base, and rubbing alcohol is an isopropyl base, so they're not quite the same, but not all markers use that solvent, so it's nice to test anyway. Next, I'm going to do a little bit of a rainbow gradient just to kind of test the interblendability of these markers for you guys, and then we're going to move on into our field test. So I would say these markers are fairly interblendable. There's some areas that could use a little bit more work, but when I purchased these colors, I also didn't purchase like a perfect rainbow gradient. So the fact that I can get some of these colors to blend well into one another is impressive, at least to me. In fact, let's do a really weird one. This looks like it's going to be a coral pink. It's light orange, but it's basically like fluorescent peach. We're going to do that. We're going to do the blue, and I might end up ruining the brush on my marker, or at least staining it. I'm not really concerned about that though. So we've got two super disparate colors. Let's try blending them. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, but we are making some headway. Pretty interesting. Ah, there we go. Now we got some of the blue in there, but scrubbed out quite nicely. Okay, so I am definitely looking forward to just diving into our field test and seeing how it turns out. So you guys might remember this from the beginning of the video. I also want to share the information that these markers are available open stock. They're also available in sets. You can get the 12 gray set for about $39.99. You can get them in sets of 3s. They have like a pink set, a green set. Those are $11.99 each. You can buy more of the solvent. You can buy a 6-color basic set for about $25. You can, let's see. They actually have a lot of 3-color sets. They have a yellow, a red, a color hue set, which is yellow, blue, and red. They have sort of a grayscale set. They have a blue set, and they've also mixed a lot of their Neopiko 2 listings in. They should be interchangeable, not quite interchangeable, but you know what I mean. You can use them together. They're intermixable, but most of the listings are for the open stock markers. So you may have to do a bit of searching and a bit of digging. But again, they have 144 colors now. They have a pretty large range, and it looks like they have a lot of really solid magentas and purples. So I may be purchasing these to sort of fill out and augment my collection. So what's interesting about the selection that I have here is it was purchased sight unseen online. All I had to go by were the digital color selection, which I always feel like those are not really indicative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using the gray set along with my brightly colored set, and I'm just going to do the best that I can. We'll see how it turns out. So I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do it in time lapse just for time constraint problems. I'll take notes, and if I notice anything, I will check in with you guys at the end. So I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, I think we are just about finished with the field test for the Neopiko Color markers. I have some thoughts that I want to share with you guys. So these are really juicy markers and it's easy to do large fills without getting streaking or kind of that weird effect that sometimes doing a large fill with cheap alcohol markers gives you, where you get like inconsistent color, patchy color. The solvent is very reactive, so apply it and handle it with care. I think that was particularly apparent when we were doing the roses. I don't really have a lot of good sort of mid-tones. I didn't purchase them. So I kind of had to get creative, and I applied a layer of, I think it is Cardinal, and then blended it back with solvent, and then added another layer of Cardinal. So that kind of ties in with how reactive these markers are as well. The colors I selected are weird for this. I think I probably squirreled away another set, but I went digging through my two main marker boxes and I can't find them. So I don't know. It feels like I bought these colors to augment another set though. And so this is my own, the color selection I purchased, this is my own fault. This is not a set they designed for this. This is just, I bought it and it doesn't work. So some of the color problems you may have seen me had, it's because I picked the wrong colors. But they layer really nicely. You can see in her hair, I got some nice color layers on some areas of her skin, on her dress with the roses, so they can be really versatile. They are very bleedy though, particularly over another layer of color. You're gonna really want to let your colors dry, and they are not so great on thick papers. We're using Strathmore 300 series Bristol today because that is what I do all of my, or almost all of my alcohol marker tests on, just for consistency. But these might be really nice on papers that are actually designed for markers like Neopiko or PM paper. If you guys want to see me try that, I do have those papers. Let me know in the comments below and I'll do a follow-up video to that. And as I said, these markers are really reactive to solvent. So you can order from the Deleter manga shop even if you don't live in Japan, but shipping can be pricey. It ships through DHL and that's weight-based. Deleter USA ships from Hokkaido in California, so while it's more expensive to purchase, the shipping is going to be less. So basically weigh your options. And I want to thank Kabocha one more time. Kabocha provided me with that additional information and also inspired this review. So I really appreciate the suggestion. I appreciate the leads, and then I appreciate the follow-up help in finishing this. So thank you so much. I'm going to pop a link to Kabocha's amazing webcomic linked down in the description below. I really want you guys to check it out. If you like my art and you think my art is cute, I really want you guys to read my webcomic as well, 7-Inch Kara. You can read it at 7inchkara.com or 7inchkara.tumblr.com. And both Linked and Kara are part of the Ink Drop Cafe webcomic collective, so I'll pop a link for that in the description as well. You guys should check it out, especially if you love free-to-read comics. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification because I have more alcohol marker reviews coming up in the near future. I'm very tempted to add these Neopiko colors right in with my Blick, my Copic, my Neopiko, and my Shinhan Twin Touches. We will see if they will fit, but I think some of these colors would make a great addition, and I feel like they have colors that are not necessarily being carried or addressed by Copic. So if you're looking to expand your Copic marker, your alcohol marker collection, I highly recommend you check these out. And again, if you are looking for a refillable version, the Neopiko 2 is the refillable alcohol marker. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the near future, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye guys!